Hey guys, welcome to Dead End Street. I'm Al. We have finally reached 1989 in our top 25 albums of the year series. Um, we took a little detour into the 70s over the winter. And although it's still very cold here in the Southeast PA, um, it is spring. So we're going to wrap up the 80s and we're going to move on into the 90s. So let's get started. Number 25 is going to be Headache Rhetoric by Close Lobsters. They're a really cool Scottish group with an interesting take on the whole jangle pop thing. It's a little bit more jittery, kind of like XTC with a slightly punkier edge. Some really nice, cool guitar sounds and hooks. My Days Are Numbered and Words on Power are my two standout tracks. Number 24 is going to be No Fuel Left for the Pilgrims by DAD. So Disneyland After Dark, shortened to DAD for obvious legal reasons. We're a band from Denmark. This is actually their debut full-length record. They're kind of equal parts punk and post-punk, a little bit of classic rock and arena rock. If you haven't heard them, maybe just how to describe them would be maybe like The Damned meets Electric Era Cult and meets AC/DC meets the Sisters. It's got a little bit of all that in there, but it's really fun. It's really cool. The opening track is called Sleeping My Day Away, which was also the lead single off the record. It's just a great, great, great rock song. It has a great breakdown in the solo part and builds back up and just kind of explodes at the end. Point of View and Jihad are also really great tracks. And they're still around, actually, still putting out records and still doing pretty good for themselves. Number 23 is going to be Rhyme by Marty Wilson Piper, best known for his work with the Church over many, many years. This is his third solo record, if I remember correctly. Yes, third. Wide scope of styles on this album, from like a little bit of Baroque to a little bit of folk and some rock. Some of the best tracks on there, I think, are Saint Germain, Melancholy God, and To Where I Am Now. Number 22 is going to be Doolittle by the Pixies. I have a very contemptuous relationship with the Pixies music. The songs I really, really like. But the ones I don't, I really don't. That being said, there's about 6 songs on Doolittle that I really like a lot. Here Comes Your Man, Monkey, Wave of Mutilation. This may come to a surprise to some people. Debaser drives me crazy. It's not a track that I've ever really liked. I've tried for 35 years to try and get it. I just don't. Maybe I'm 51. Maybe I'll get it when I'm 60. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. I do like this record. I just happen to think that it's 23rd best record of 1989. Number 22 is Twist of Shadows by Zymox. This is a classic dark wave record that will always remind me of years like 1992, 1993, when I first started going to this goth club called Revival here in Philly. It was my first taste of that scene, and really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different kinds of music. So there's a lot of good memories attached to it. Also, there's good songs. Evelyn and Imagination, both really good. But it's, of course, the earworm that is Obsession, that once that song gets in your head, good luck, because it's never leaving. Really great song. Number 20 is Spike by Elvis Costello. On this record, Elvis stitches the attractions for a ambitious Baroque pop record that really should have been 2 separate single albums, just simply because of its length. It's really long. But there's a lot of beautiful songs on it nonetheless. Um, Tramp the Dirt Town, Deep Dark Truthful Mirror is one that he still performs live, and it's just great every time. It's also the record where he finally gets to play Lennon to the actual McCartney. He gets Paul to co-write 2 songs with him on this one, Pads, Paws, and Claws, and the exquisite tribute to Elvis's grandmother called Veronica. It's just really one of the better songwriting moments, especially of the late 80s. It's a great, great song. Number 19 is Oranges and Lemons by XTC. It's a double album, chock full of thoughtful and elaborate power pop, as always, from XTC. Though I think this is the only one of the 80s XTC records that has production that makes it sound a tad dated. Whereas everything up to that point just sounds very classic, and you can sometimes, but you can't really pinpoint as to what year it came out if you didn't already know. It doesn't hurt the songs. I'm just saying it's just something I observed. It still has tracks like One of the Millions, Chalk Hills and Children, and the masterful pop song that is Mayor of Simpleton. Number 18 is Sonic Temple by The Cult. After the successes of the 2 previous records, the psychedelic post-punk of the second album, Love, and the Stooges meets T-Rex meets AC/DC sound of 1987's Electric, the Cult decided to split this difference between the 2 records. So what you get is a psych glam post-punk classic rock album. And believe it or not, they hit the jackpot and they hit the big time with this record. The first single was Firewoman, which became the theme song to Ginger Girls Everywhere. And their excellent ode to Edie Sedgwick called Edie Chow Baby, by far the coolest power ballad of the 80s. Sweet Soul Asylum is quite the behemoth. The Cult have had a really great career. They should be bigger. There's been a couple of questionable decisions, like the next album after this one. They kind of made up with it with the album after. But that being said, the Cult have always been a band I've admired for not being afraid to try new things and kind of changing their sound pretty much every record. Number 17 is the self-titled debut by Stone Roses. This record hit the music scene by storm when it came out, particularly in the UK, with good reason. I mean, it's almost like the history of British rock all on one record in a way. You get a little bit of Beatles, a little bit of Stones, a little bit of Kinks, a little bit of Hollies, a little bit of Smiths. It's praised as a 5-star album all over the world. I don't think it's quite that good, but I do like it a lot. Not a lot of people I knew here were super crazy about it, but I think it's a really good record. But I do believe that the singles were the best songs on the record. So my favorite tracks on the album are She Bangs the Drum and I Want to Be Adored. It's just unmistakably great. Number 16 is Felt with Me and a Monkey on the Moon. This is their 10th and final studio record. It's a little bit different. I mean, it does sound like Felt, but Lawrence adds some other different flavors to the record. Adds a little bit of country to their trademark jangle pop. Believe it or not, it works. From the pedal steel guitar on the opening track, I Can't Make Love to You Anymore. And I think, I could be wrong, it sounds like there's a B bender being used on Budgie Jacket. Um, but there's also clavinet on Cartoon Sky, at least it sounds like it to me. And the beautiful guitar solo by guitarist John Mohan on New Day Dawning. A favorite song on the record is She Deals in Crosses. It's kind of cool how Felt really weren't afraid to try new things right up to the end. Number 15 is Don't Tell a Soul by The Replacements. This is the record where Paul Westerberg kind of started to assert his songwriting talents and push the band into a more singer-songwriter direction, which I personally have no problem with. The production choices on here are a little bit questionable, namely the hair metal drum sound on the snare. It later did get fixed on the anniversary edition that they called entitled Dead Man's Pop. Has a much better mix on it. Really brings out the magic in the songs. But some of these songs are some of the best that they ever did. Like I'll be You, Aching to Be, and They're Blind are all just replacement classics. Number 14 is the self-titled album by Love and Rockets. This is by far their most commercially successful record. Hell, I mean, So Alive almost was a number 2 single on the Billboard Hot 100 in the States. You can imagine that. Love and Rockets almost had a number 1 single here. Songs are more compact, or they're more sweaty. They're a little dirtier. Frankly, just a lot of fun. It's not my personal favorite Love and Rockets record, but it's still a great Love and Rockets record. We, a little while back, did a Love and Rockets album ranking. I'll leave a link for that in the description if you guys want to see that too. Number 13 is Boomerang by The Creatures. So taking another breather from the Banshees, Susie and Budgie spread their wings again with their second Creatures record, which is, believe it or not, like 6.5 years after the first one. Though it is still written mostly around vocals and percussion, this one's far more accessible to the general public than the first. Standing there with, I think, a top 20 single over in the UK. But there are plenty of great tracks on Boomerang besides that. And Jeff Buckley thought so too. He was a huge fan, Banshees fan and a Creatures fan. And he recorded a version of The Creatures' Killing Time from this record, which I think you can find somewhere on YouTube if you're interested. Number 12 is A Sensual World by Kate Bush. This record took 3 years to come out to be the follow-up to Hounds of Love. So it gets compared to it quite often, which is a bit unfair. But on its own merit, it's still a top-tier Kate record. It's quite epic. The title track is beautiful. The Fog and Deeper Understanding, great. I know Running Up That Hill is widely considered like the quintessential Kate Bush song. I would argue that This Woman's Work is Kate's shining moment, her crowning achievement. It's just one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. The layered vocals on this are just insane. Every time I hear it, it's one of those just goosebump inducing songs. R&B singer Maxwell did a version of it on his own, had a pretty good big hit with it here in the States. I think on his, I don't know whether it might have been his Unplugged show when MTV was doing all those Unplugged things. But it's Kate's song through and through. And people can try to make, covers and do decent versions of it. But it's all Kate for me when it comes to This Woman's Work. Number 11 is Pretty Hate Machine by 9 Inch Nails. Pretty Hate Machine is equal parts Ministry and Depeche Mode. The first Nine Inch Nails full-length album is angst-ridden, it's aggressive, and it's drenched in hisses and scrapes, and it's catchy as hell. Head Like a Hole, Sin, Terrible Lie, Kind I Want To, That's What I Get, were all staples in the very early 90s and all the underground dance nightclubs. Um, and was really exciting when I bought this album in the senior year of high school. I don't listen to it very much anymore. Still like it. I mean, it doesn't mean I think I just wore the hell out of it. And, but it's still a great record. Number 10 is Love is Hell by Kitchens of Distinction. Kitchens of Distinction were a unique band, I think. They often get classified in that whole shoegaze crew. What I mean, sonically, you can hear it, right? But they had a little bit, they were a little bit more focused on the songwriting than they were in the atmosphere and the mood. Even though they did that very well also. If you haven't heard them, the best way I can describe them in a simplistic, dumb way is maybe like REM meets Ride meets Cocteau Twins, maybe, or something like that. I mean, if you wrap your head around that, you kind of get an idea of what they might sound like, right? And yes, there are dreamy sounds in the guitars, but they let the song breathe and they accent everything in a very natural way. And Patrick Fitzgerald has this very Michael Stipe-ish quality to his voice that makes you want to listen to what he's saying. Um, it's really quite puzzling that they didn't get the second round shoegaze bump that happened in the last 10, 15 years that the others got, because they deserve it just as much as the others. But for me, opening track in a cave has a really interesting build up until the hook, and then the hook just blooms out. It's the only way I can describe it. Prize is another great track with great emotion and guitar textures. Number 9 is Automatic by Jesus and Mary Chain. This record was pretty maligned when it first came out for being too electronic, which you going back and listening to it now, that's completely laughable. Um, it's more fun than the previous two records for sure, but that's part of what makes it great. There's nothing worse than making the same record over and over again, right? I mean, you want them to make Darklands 2 or Psycho Candy 2, it's not going to have that same magic. Like, I mean, it's a record that contains Here Comes Alice, Blues from a Gun, just killer tracks. But the showstopper is, for me, is Head On. It's just a perfect rock song to me. It always gets the crowd going at the shows. Always got the show crowds go. Always got the dance floor going. And no, the Pixies version is not better. It's absolutely blasphemous. It's not better. It's a Jesus and Mary Chain song, and it's their song and their version is the quintessential version. And I'm going to die on that hill. 8 is Mind Bomb by The. So this record's a little bit different than the previous couple of The records. And again, that's what makes it cool. He actually surrounds himself with a proper band, and he actually recruits Johnny Marr of the Smiths, of course, to play guitar, which it's a match made in heaven. It's just great. The result is just it has this great organic and expansive sound as compared to the previous records. Matt's voice sounds better. He's actually taking a little bit more time to actually be a singer. Armageddon Days Are Here Again, The Beaten Generation, Kingdom of Rain, which is a duet with Sinead O'Connor, all excellent. August, September, and Gravitate to me are equally awesome. And it's just one of those albums that just still sounds fresh to this day. Number 7 is Candleland by Ian McCulloch. So after the Gray album, the unthinkable happens, and Ian McCulloch quits Echo and the Bunnymen. He makes a solo record that captures all of the allure of Echo and the Bunnymen with the catchy rhythms of New Order. And it's it's not what something that you would think would have worked, but it really does. I do miss Will Sargent's guitar playing, but the songs are here. There's excellent collaboration with Elizabeth Fraser from the Cocteau Twins in the title track. But I got to say, I mean, it's the fluidity of this record that is so striking. It's just such an easy listen. It's just such an easy listen. Um, Flickering Wall truly sounds like Peter Hook is playing bass on it. Proud to Fall is one of the best singles of the year. It's just phenomenal. Um, it's why a friend of mine of your messaging um, actually said that he prefers this record to the actual Bunnymen records. And I, you know, I was like, whoa. I was like, well, that's a hot take, you know. But I mean, yeah, it's missing Will and it's missing, you know, DeFreitas's drums, but it's not really that crazy of a take. I mean, it's really that good of an album. Far better than the Bunnymen album without Ian. Yeah, if you haven't heard it and you're a Bunnymen fan, definitely check out Candleland. Number 6 is Technique by New Order. I'm not sure if this is true, but I sometimes get the feeling that people consider Brotherhood to be the end of the classic New Order era, which to me, um, this is the most focused record that they had done since Power, Corruption, and Lies. Um, might be even more focused than that record. I don't know if it's better. I'd have to do like a New Order ranking and actually dig into this and come with a decision. But um, it's a very focused and cohesive record. I'm not sure the previous New Order albums are that cohesive. Um, Round and Round is one of my favorite New Order singles, especially the single version. The album version, the single version should have been the album version. I'm not quite sure why they did that. Um, Guilty Partner is the closest that New Order had gotten to Joy Division in 7 years. Excellent song. Run has a classic hooky bass line with some nice guitar tones from Barney. Dream Attack is a very different track in their history and definitely one of my favorites on the record. Number 5 is Book of Days by Psychedelic Furs. Yeah, so I get that this is post Midnight to Midnight. And I know a lot of people jumped off after Midnight to Midnight. But I really like this album, and I'm a big Psychedelic Furs fan. Um, it's like a giant course correction after Midnight to Midnight. They went ahead and they hired Dave Allen to produce it, who most people know is the producer of a lot of the great Cure records, the First Sisters album. He produced Strange Times by the Chameleons. He's a great producer. Um, and it really brings out the moodier side of the Furs, which had been kind of polished away on the last couple of records. Opens up with Shine, which is a really cool off-time arrangement. This might be Tim Butler's best bass playing record. Really great guitar work on this whole album by John Ashton. I mean, he might be the star of the record. It'd be an amazing job. And Richard Butler is back to his snotty self and his moody self on this record, and spending more time on his poetic lyrics. Um, I Don't Mind is a great song. Um, One of my favorite all-time songs by the Furs is on this album. It's the single House. It completely bombed, as did the record. I mean, this record didn't sell, at least not here in the States. Most people completely forgot about it. But anyone who loves this era of alt rock and if you love the early Furs records, I think if you've not heard this, you will really enjoy it. Number 4 is On Fire by Galaxy 500. I've taken to listening to this band quite often these days, far more than I did 30 years ago, for sure. And I liked them. And I had all 3 records, a couple of them cassette. I have them all on vinyl now, but there's just something about the simplicity of these songs that, I mean, it's not easy to do, to just keep it that simple, make people feel, and to keep it interesting the way they do. Um, but they do. I mean, there's a lot of Velvet Underground influence on here, so I mean, if you don't like them, you might not, but it's still much more song oriented than Velvet's. Dean Wareham's guitar tone on this record is absolutely gorgeous. I can listen to it all day. I mean, I can listen to those guitar riffs on this album all day long. I get that this record is widely considered to be their masterpiece, and it might be true. Again, I'll have to do a quick ranking on their stuff too, but in my opinion, the 3 albums are very close in quality. I can give you my favorite songs in the record, but to be honest with you, I'd just be running down the entire track listing. I mean, I think the album is that good. Number 3 is Deep by Peter Murphy. This is where Peter Murphy's solo career finally hits its stride, I think. Not that Love Hysteria wasn't also great ever, or the first solo album with John McGee on guitar. But he finally gets a taste of mainstream success here. And it starts out with Deep Ocean, Vast Sea, which is a great table setter. Track 4 is Marlene Dietrich's favorite poem, which is one of my top 100 songs of all time. Musically, lyrically, atmospherically, it's magical. I mean, I love everything about it. The layers of 12-string guitar with the synths behind it, and Peter Murphy's lyrics are beautiful and perfect, and his vocal performance is excellent. Seven Veils really showcases his band called the 100 Men, but it also has an excellent vocal hook. Cuts You Up. It's just one of those songs that I just don't really ever get tired of. It's just a perfect 80s alt rock post punk song. The bass and the percussion are in perfect sync. Peter Murphy's Bowie-esque vocal performance just hits it. It became an instant dance floor staple at all the goth clubs the world over. Probably still is. I don't know. I haven't been there in 25 years. But it's just better than that. It's just a great song, period. Then there's Strange Kind of Love, which is just a simple acoustic guitar and a vocal with lush orchestration behind it. But the lyrics just stir a wild mix of emotions, and it's just gorgeous. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the album's production. There's some 80s isms in there, but the mix was just separated expertly. I mean, it just sounds, it's one of the best sounding records of the era. Deep, Peter Murphy, great album. Number 2 might come as a little bit of surprise. I wish it didn't come out in 1989 because I really wanted to make it number one, but I'm not on drugs. So in 1989, there's one number one. But number two for me is going to be the self-titled album by the Ocean Blue. Um, when this came out in 1989, no one, and I mean no one, believed that these guys were American, let alone from Hershey, PA, an hour and a half away from my front door. It's soaked in Smithsisms and Bunnymanisms, but who cares? I mean, the record is better than any of the latter Bunnymen records or any of the latter Maz or Mar records, their solo records anyway. Um, there's just not a single bad track on it. Between Something and Nothing immediately hits you with a massive dose of Will Sargent. It's an earworm of a melody that is completely infectious. Vanity Fair echoes the sadness and yearning of Mead is Murder era Smiths, and that's good. Drifting Falling is a dreamy piece of songwriting excellence with a great sax hook throughout. Frigid Winter Days has some exemplary guitar interplay, big word. Um, but yeah, and you know what? They've had a great career. I mean, and they've been putting records out right up until I think 2017 was their last record, and that was great. And they still tour. And I saw them about 6 months ago. They did their first this album the first night, did the second album the second night, and it was two of the best live shows I've seen in years. And they're just a great band. Um, and I'm not sure what their standing is critically or what the you know indie opinion is of Ocean Blue, but I think they just deserve a shot, and I think that they are a really great band. My maybe that's my Pennsylvania bias, but I think they're fantastic. And the number one album in 1989, to no one's surprise, is going to be Disintegration by The Cure. Um, it's been talked about before on this channel. I'm not going to bludgeon you guys with it, but it's I mean, okay, so when I was 13, 14, my first Cure record was Kiss Me. And and it was one of the first alt rock, non hard rock, classic rock records I ever bought. 14 years old. So, and I listened to it to death. So when I was excited to hear the next album, my first time hearing it was in the school. I was on the bus ride home from school, and oh god, I think the album came out in May of '89. So it had to have been the end of freshman year. So, and there was a girl with like short blonde spiky hair who rode the bus, and she was a senior and I was a freshman. And we had talked on the bus before that I liked The Cure, she liked The Cure. So she was in there, like, I got the new Cure record. Did you hear the new Cure record? I'm like, no, it's out. She's like, yeah. So she said, come here, listen. So she broke apart. She pulled the one headphone off of her Walkman earphones and put one on mine and one of hers on one of her ear. That's the first time I heard Plain Song. And even in one ear, I could hear the majesty of it. I mean, what else is there left to say about the album? It's a masterpiece, right? I mean, the only complaint anyone could really have is that maybe it's a tad bit too long. But when I was 15, I had all the time in the world. It didn't matter. I could just listen to it whenever I wanted. It didn't matter that it was an hour and 10 minutes long. Plain Song, Pictures of You, Close Down, Love Song, Last Dance, Lullaby, Fascination Street, Same Deep Water as You, Disintegration, Prayers for Rain. I'm gonna name the entire album off the top of my head. Um, Untitled, and I'm forgetting one. I'm not gonna pull the album out. You guys know the songs. It's an amazing record. It does not sound dated. It's now 36 years old. It'll be 36 years old next month. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So that's it. That's 1989, guys. Sorry I didn't have a surprise ending this time. But yeah, so we're off to 1990. We haven't decided exactly what the next album ranking is going to be. Things might slow down a tiny bit in the next couple of weeks because I am moving. So it's going to take a little time to set up the stuff at the new house. Maybe I'll do some weird stuff in the car or something just to keep everybody occupied and so you just don't forget about us. I'll try to do 1990 and we'll try to do an album ranking before that happens to give you guys enough content in the meantime. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you like 70s, 80s, and 90s alt rock, I think you're going to like the channel because it's mostly what we cover. We do sometimes cover some 70s glam rock and some classic rock here and there, but that's mainly what we're about because there's not a real lot of channels that cover this stuff, right? So thanks for watching again, guys. Don't forget to comment. I love talking the back and forth with you guys, and talk to you next time. See you on Dead End Street. Thanks again, guys. Bye.